We're back on the air, and this is Radio Entrepreneurs. My name is Jeffrey Davis, and our next guest, someone I've known indirectly for many years, but never really talked a lot of business about, David Sonner of Wintrust Mortgage. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thanks for being on. The mortgage business has changed a lot over a few presidencies. There have been easy mortgages and hard mortgages and then impossible mortgages. Where are we today?
Well, mortgages are more difficult today than they were a few years ago. As you know, when I got into the business in 2002, anybody could get a mortgage.
Anybody.
Anybody.
Thank you, Bill Clinton.
There were no regulations for the most part. You didn't have to have an income. You didn't have to have assets. You could get 100% financing. Really, all you needed was a pulse. And obviously, that all led to the downfall of the market, of the housing market, and the crash in 2008. And after that, of course, many regulations were put in place to prevent that from happening in the future. And the pendulum swung from one end of very, very little regulation to the other end, where some might say there is too much regulation going on. So it is certainly a much more difficult process to get a loan approval.
It's worse than flying. It used to be easy to fly, and now it's difficult to fly. But, for people who have good credit, is there any way to streamline the process?
Well, people that have good credit, certainly it's advantageous, but one still has to go through the same process as anyone with moderate or even low credit. You have to qualify for the loan based on not only your credit, but your debt-to-income ratio and your assets. And the debt-to-income ratio is probably the most critical thing and the part that most people struggle with. The government, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, are not going to allow people to get a loan approval whose debt is more than 45% of their income.
Wow.
And that's their gross income.
Right.
That's challenging for some, especially for those that are self-employed. And people that are self-employed, they come to us and say, oh, I make X amount of money. But that's their gross income. When you're self-employed and you file the Schedule C on your tax return and you show all kinds of deductions for all your various expenses, and by the time you get down to the net profit, it could be very, very small. And
it's funny how they make it work for large corporations with that debt. Large corporations love that debt, so they don't pay taxes. But you're saying they encourage corporations to lower their profits, and overseas investment gets you totally out of taxes.
Correct.
But for individuals, they're not encouraging it. It's the opposite approach, you're saying.
Correct. If you're a W-2 wage earner, they're going to look at your gross income.
Right.
However, if you're a self-employed individual who files a Schedule C on their tax return, they're going to look at your net profit. So
Right.
all of those deductions that you've taken over the year are actually going to hurt you when it comes time to apply for a mortgage.
If someone wants to find you at Wintrust Mortgage, how would they find you?
Well, you could find us on the web at wintrustmortgage.com, and there you could find me via a link through wintrustmortgage.com. And you can call us. My phone number is 781-247-9360, and I would be happy to take your call.